guess where we are? I don't even remember where we are. Where are we? Oh yeah, we're in Disneyland. Today's gonna be a special everything you didn't even know about Disneyland. Today we're gonna go over kind of politics. So we're gonna go over certain people that are important to the company, certain people that are important to the company then and now and things, and the rift between the family and the company, and just a bunch of stuff. So stay tuned for that. It might be a little boring because it's kind of just like a history lesson, but hey, I find it interesting. The current president of the company is Bob Iger. The previous president was Eisner, and he had a lot of issues with the family, and it was apparently what caused the rift. Roy E. Disney, Walt's older brother's son, was the one who was kind of in charge of the company, and he felt that Eisner was not actually very good at his job. He kind of just rode people's coattails, and he, took credit for people who did the actual work, and he wasn't actually doing anything. It got so bad that Walt's wife Lillian and daughter Diane were not on speaking terms with Eisner. The 9 Old Men were a group of 9 of Walt's best creme de la creme OG animators. They were like some of the original best at their work, and let's talk about them now. Walt actually coined the term and would call them such, the 9 Old Men, as they worked for his company and park. Several of the 9 Old Men didn't actually work in the park at all. These ones were Milt Kahl, who did wonderful animation work though, and was considered the finest draftsman of the 9 Old Men. And if you just watch any of his things, and you can just recognize it's him, because his work is just beautiful. And as an animator, I love his hands. I know that's weird to say, but the way he drew hands was just phenomenal. Erik Larson also didn't work in the park. However, he recruited many of the higher-ups that we now know and love that work for the company today. John Lounsbury, who was the first to go, unfortunately, and also the shortest lived of the 9 Old Men, and Wolfgang Ritherman. Apart from having a wonderful name, he was also a World War II fighter pilot. Two of the most well-known of the 9 Old Men are Frank and Ollie. They worked on many of Disney's animated movies, such as Pinocchio and Fantasia. They're seen in several other films that you can watch, like Brad Bird's The Iron Giant and Incredibles. If you watch The Iron Giant, they are the people who are the train drivers. If you watch The Incredibles, they are the people who were like, no school like the old school, because Brad Bird looked up to them and thought that they were great animators, which they were. They were really big on acting out their scenes, so they could be seen doing weird faces or different gestures just to try to get that right feel for the scene. They're also credited with perfecting the 12 principles of animation. For those of you who are animators, you probably have heard about these, but I'm gonna just go through them real quick. Squash and stretch, follow through and overlapping action, anticipation and staging, straight ahead and pose to pose, slow in, slow out, and arcs, secondary action and timing, exaggeration or solid drawing and weight, and just overall appeal. Ollie Johnston is the one who's credited with getting Walt Disney into trains, because Walt Disney was pretty much obsessed with trains. Ollie owned a full-size steam locomotive named the Marie E, which was later sold to John Lasseter after Ollie died. In 2005, John Lasseter, to tribute Ollie, had it actually run on the Disneyland tracks. It is the only non-Disney locomotive to run in any park still. The 7th of the 9 Old Men was Ward Kimball. He, apart from being a wonderful animator, also played trombone in the Dixieland Band and the Firehouse 5+2 Band that performed here in Disneyland. Les Clark was the only one of the 9 Old Men who worked on the Mickey Mouse cartoons with iWorks. He would do the in-betweens on Steamboat Willie. My favorite of the 9 Old Men was Mark Davis. Mark Davis designed, animated, and did basically everything under the sun for Disney Company. He was the one who did Walt Disney's favorite piece of animation, the scene where Cinderella's ball gown appears. She gets her rags turned into a ball gown. That was Walt Disney's favorite piece of animation because he felt that it truly epitomized what he wanted Disney Company to be. He designed many of the femme fatales of the Disney Company. Some of them were Tinkerbell, Maleficent, and Cruella de Vil. Cruella de Vil, though, he not only designed, animated, and in between, and he did the entire, basically everything Cruella de Vil for every scene. He always used to say that, everybody was like, we really love Cruella de Vil, which is cool because, if you animated it well, it's good, but if there were some parts that were poorly animated, he also did those parts. So he was like, well, it's great. I could be like, yeah. He worked on Nature's Wonderland and America Sings as well. He designed most of what Pirates of the Caribbean and the Haunted Mansion were. He also did the stretching room portraits, and then the portraits in the portrait hallway. He also designed all the personalities for the Country Bears. Mark Davis also designed the scenes for the Jungle Cruise, It's a Small World, and then he also wrote jokes for the Tiki Room. The 9 Old Men were really amazing, inspirational people. They are all Disney legends, and unfortunately none of them are still alive. Ub Iwerks could have been one of the 9 Old Men, but he decided to leave. Let's talk about him right now. Ub worked with Walt from the get-go. They worked together on the Alice short comedies. They both made in the early 20s. He worked with Walt on basically the very beginning of his animation career, from the very beginning up until he left, which we'll get into later. Ub co-created Oswald with Walt Disney. Unfortunately, Ub is not included in the 9 Old Men because he had a falling out with Walt. He felt that he had animated a lot of the things that were made the company popular. Ub didn't feel he got the credit he deserved, so he left and went to work for the competitor, Pat Ponder. In 1940, though, Ub returned to the company. A lot of people thought that Ub left due to the Oswald scandal, but Oswald was actually never owned by Walt and Ub. He was sold to Universal, and Universal had like basically commissioned them to make a character, so they came up with Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Recently, though, Disney traded him back. In 2006, Bob Iger traded him for a ESPN sportscaster, Al Michaels. So now we get Oswald in the park and video games and movies, and we get to see Oswald all over the place. For those of you who are not familiar with Oswald, you can see him in Disney's Epic Mickey. Both Ub and Walt came up with Mickey Mouse and Oswald. They wrote the story, they came up with the characters, and they were just good friends. So that's it for my Disney political thingamabobber video. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun doing a bunch of research on it. I do love the 9 Old Men. They're pretty amazing as an animator. It's pretty cool to like know that the animation people were really cool and high up. Awesome sauce. So that's about it. Until next time, bye! You just watched Lazar and Dink. Leave a comment and tell me what you think. If you seem to like my groove, hit subscribe and improve your mood. Oh, it's stuck. Oh, it's stuck. No, it's stuck. 1 second, guys. Oh god. You're gonna get car sick. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's start over.
You did it.